I'm going to do a review of my Aragon Virtuoso watch. Trying it out with some different lighting here just to see. I usually do things in the sun, but not always practical because I can't be home during the day usually. So this watch, as you can tell, is massive. So save the comments talking about how huge this is and you shouldn't wear big watches, etc., etc. I get that. This isn't for people who like small watches. I like small watches too. Okay, I wear this all the time, almost every day. So yeah, it's small. This watch is huge, and for me, this is like a guilty pleasure. It's like eating a big bag of potato chips. It's like eating a whole bag of Doritos one night. You just kind of want to do it. So this is the Aragon Virtuoso, made by Aragon Watch, a semi-micro brand. This is a huge watch. It is 48 millimeters and 17 millimeters thick. So it's a monster. You know, this thing is not for someone with a small wrist. Granted, Aragon makes a few bigger watches than this actually. And I guess Invicta probably makes bigger watches than this too, but for me, this thing is the absolute max, and it's not an everyday watch for me. This is the maximum size watch I'd ever wear. This thing has an ETA 2824 movement inside. Of course, that means it's hand winding, hacking, and automatic with a date change. So it's extremely good quality for what I paid for it. Now, I didn't pay full retail price. Full retail price on this watch is about $1,000 US. But given that it's an Aragon, you almost never pay those prices unless you're a sucker. You can always find these things on sale or cheaper. I got this watch for about $300 US. So for that price and the specs, it's killer. So long as you can deal with the design and the size. Because this thing is clearly kind of crazy looking and a little bit out there. So quality wise, very good. It's a totally brushed finish. Nice lines on it. You can see the case lines are pretty good. The brushing on the bezel goes out with the striations, you can see. That's very good. I like that. I like how it's brushed. I think if this thing was polished, it'd be a little too whack for me. There are versions of this thing that are fully polished, which are crazy for me, but this one is not. It's probably as sedated as you can get for a watch of this size. Maybe something like a Seiko Tuna, which has similar sizes but wears smaller and isn't quite as freaking thick. Bracelet, quite thick. As you can see, it's sized with screws and it's integrated. Very unique style. Kind of reminds me of a Monster bracelet a little bit, but yeah, it's a very unique style. It's very good quality as well. I mean, of course, it's not Oris level. It's not something like, over $2,000. Even a watch that's in the $1,500 price range. But this thing is better than a Glycine. It's better than the majority of Seikos. In my opinion, it's better than higher end Seikos. So it's very good quality. It's fully milled, no stamping at all. This part here, milled scissor clasp. It's very thick. Dive extension. Some of the finishing's a little funky. There's some sharp. This is a little sharp, so it's not completely perfect, but for the price, it's great. It ratchets, and so you can theoretically put it over a wetsuit. Although I would imagine this thing is pretty large for diving. It pops in really well. Comes undone. Very good. Very good quality. Bezel is extremely good. It's very tight, very precise. It's better than, a lot of watches I have, honestly. Like, this is a really good bezel. It's 120 click, unidirectional. This watch lines up perfectly. The loom, it's loomed with a kind of silvery color on the dial. This is the blue model, so there's 3 models of this watch. This watch is discontinued now, but there's 3 models of this watch. Mine's the blue version, so as you can see the hands, this might be a little tough to see in the camera, but the hands are a dark blue color there. You can see the blue right there, as well as the paint. around the applied markers and the bezel. The other two versions are black and red. Seiko Monster, kind of Breitling Super Ocean inspired hands. It's more Seiko Monster. I have a Seiko Monster, and the hands on this thing are identical, basically. Like, I mean, I'm talking the hour hand, second hand, and the minute hand are different. No loom on the second hand, which is a bit of a bummer. This watch, as you can see, has a 1,000 meter dive rating, which is pretty hardcore. Helium escape valve too, so hey, you know, once this thing's so heavy, you'll sink to the bottom, so you probably need that 1,000 meter depth rating. But it's a pretty cool watch, honestly. Like I said, guilty pleasure. Pop the crown, it's really good. Winding is very smooth. Change the time and the date. Screw down crown, of course. Screws in. It's pretty good. You know, it's about the same type of screw-in crown as a you know, lower tier Prospex Seiko diver would have. I think it's better than my SKX in terms of, you know, quality and ease of screwing in, but yeah, it's not the best. It's not as good as an Oris. It's not as good as even as the Glycine, but it's kind of Seiko quality, if you know what I'm talking about. But overall, I really like this watch. I think that you know, if you can deal with this with the looks of Aragons, they're good quality. Now, of course, this is by far way better than any Aragon I've ever felt in terms of build quality. This thing is a damn tank. You feel like you could survive the apocalypse. You know, I feel like I could be a hero in a gas station, put this thing in a sock and beat a baddie who's trying to rob the gas station. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is super big. It's super heavy. Now, I have a 7.25 inch wrist, I'd say. I like to wear my watches behind my wrist bone, the bump. This is what this thing looks like. So, of course, on camera, it's going to look bigger than it is in real life when it's up close like that. I'm 6'1" with a, you know, not to be a Johnny Bravo style, but I have a muscular build, so I'm not a skinny person. But I'm no bodybuilder, but yeah, I can absorb this. I mean, you know, obviously it's gonna look big, right? It's supposed to look big. I don't wear this to every occasion. I like to wear it in the summer. It's just, you know, it's a guilty pleasure for me. I know in the watch community, a lot of people complain about, oh, y'all just didn't wear how big watch, but you know, for me, this thing is pretty fun. It's a fun piece for me, but it's definitely not to everybody's taste. I'd imagine you wouldn't want this watch if you weren't looking up this video. So, anyhow, that's the Aragon Virtuoso 2824. They make newer versions. One's in titanium. There's versions with jewels on them. Those ones are a little whack for me. I like the titanium one. The titanium one would significantly lower the weight. That's the main gripe I have with this watch, is it's quite heavy. It's not uncomfortable to wear, but it's definitely a heavy beast, you know. I'd just like to mention finally the sort of negative aspects of this watch. You know, subjective things aside, I would say my main gripe with this watch is the loom. Long story short, it's terrible. You know, you need to put like a UV flashlight on this thing to blast it, and then you'll get like 15 minutes out of it of semi, you know, crazy loom. It's really bright at first-ish, but you know, it's not the best. It doesn't last. You're not going to be checking this thing in the night. You're not going to be in a movie theater and like seeing what time it is in the dark. So that's my main gripe with the watch, is basically the loom. Just as a final conclusion then, I'd like to round this review out by saying that I really like this watch, okay? I kept going on and on about the size of it, but, you know, it's a big watch. What can you do? I get that the fad now is to go smaller and everybody complains about big watches, but I like this watch and I don't really give a damn what anybody thinks about it. It's a really cool watch. It's so cool to me. This watch makes you feel like you're putting on some sort of sci-fi arm device, some kind of like a Pip-Boy from Fallout, you know? It's just it's huge. It's kind of wacky, and that's the guilty pleasure for me. This watch is awesome. I love it, and for me, it's a keeper. It's a crazy watch. So appreciate y'all watching. And why'd I say y'all? I'm not even American. It's a good word, Americans. I like that word. Okay, take care.